Cleopatra. Just say her name and instantly you see luxury, seduction, snakes, and romantic tragedy. But that Cleopatra is, to a large extent, an invention, a cocktail of Roman propaganda, political moralism, and centuries of theater and cinema. The truth is more interesting. Cleopatra VII wasn't the woman who drove two powerful men crazy. She was a ruler trying to save an incredibly wealthy kingdom in the middle of the greatest power struggle of the ancient world, the conflict that transformed the Roman Republic into an empire. Let's start with the context people often forget. Cleopatra didn't rule a postcard Egypt, isolated and mysterious. She ruled an Egypt that was essential to the Mediterranean economy, especially for grain, and tied to Rome at every level. Her dynasty, the Ptolemies, was Greek-Macedonian in origin, descendants of Alexander the Great's generals. The court spoke Greek, lived in Alexandria, and governed a population that was largely Egyptian, balancing Hellenistic culture with pharaonic tradition in a very delicate equilibrium. Cleopatra comes to the throne in 51 BC, very young, after the death of her father Ptolemy XII. Ptolemaic tradition demands a co-rule with a brother, often including a political marriage, so Cleopatra initially reigns with Ptolemy XIII. But the court erupts into a power struggle, factions, advisors, the army, control of finances. At one point Cleopatra is pushed out and forced to flee. She gathers forces in Syria and returns to take back her kingdom. This isn't romantic drama. It's raw politics, just like in Rome. And then Rome enters the story in the most explosive way possible. In 48 BC, Julius Caesar arrives in Egypt while pursuing Pompey during the Roman Civil War. Pompey is killed, and Caesar walks straight into Egypt's dynastic chaos, and decides to intervene. Cleopatra makes the move that changes her life. She manages to secure a meeting with Caesar and turns a deadly risk into an alliance. A relationship follows, yes, but more importantly, a deal. Caesar needs stability and resources. Cleopatra needs Roman recognition to return firmly to the throne. After fighting in Alexandria, Ptolemy XIII dies and Cleopatra is restored as queen, this time alongside a younger brother, Ptolemy XIV. In 47 BC, Caesarion is born, Little Caesar. Caesar's paternity can't be proven with absolute certainty, but politically, for Cleopatra, it's enormous, a child that ties her to the most powerful man in the Roman world. Here's the key point. Cleopatra didn't seduce Rome, she tried to negotiate with Rome. Her goal was simple and gigantic: keep Egypt independent, or at least autonomous, while Rome devoured the Mediterranean. And in 46 BC, Cleopatra goes to Rome. She lives in Caesar's villa across the Tiber, and her presence scandalizes the Roman elite, a foreign queen, openly monarchic, immensely powerful, dangerously close to the dictator. Caesar even has a statue of Cleopatra placed in the Temple of Venus Genitrix, an unmistakably political gesture, linking the queen, and the mother of Caesar's son, to the symbolic sphere of the Julian line. Then the earthquake, 44 BC, Caesar is assassinated. Cleopatra immediately understands Rome is about to explode again, and she returns to Egypt. Soon after, Ptolemy XIV disappears from the picture, and Cleopatra rules with Caesarion as co-regent. From this point on, her politics becomes one question: who do you ally with in Rome's civil war, without getting crushed? And we enter the second half of the myth, Mark Antony. After Caesar, Rome is controlled by the triumvirs, Octavian, Antony, and Lepidus. Antony takes charge of the Roman East and needs Egypt, money, fleet, supplies, grain. Cleopatra needs a powerful protector in Rome. They meet, they ally, and their alliance becomes a personal relationship, but reducing it to a mad love is exactly the version Octavian wants the world to believe. The most political moment of their entire story comes in 34 BC, the Edo nations of Alexandria. In a public ceremony, Antony and Cleopatra assigned territories and titles to their children and strengthened Cleopatra's image as a queen of kings, while Caesarion is presented with an extremely high dynastic role. For Rome, especially for Octavian, it's fuel on the fire. It looks like, or can be painted as, an Eastern Empire project with Alexandria as its capital and Cleopatra at its center. This is where the propaganda that creates Cleopatra's dark myth is born. Octavian can't openly say, "I'm waging war on a Roman citizen," because Antony is still formally Roman. So he shifts the target. The war is presented as a war against Cleopatra, the foreign queen who supposedly bewitched Antony and dragged him into betrayal. Cassius Dio is very clear: the Senate voted war against Cleopatra, not against Antony, in order to make Antony morally guilty for siding with a foreign woman against Rome. It's brilliant and dirty. It turns a Roman civil war into a patriotic war against the East. Cleopatra becomes the symbol of everything Rome fears and despises: wealth, monarchy, female influence, foreign culture. And this is where the Cleopatra femme fatale is forged, built to destroy Antony's image and legitimize Octavian as the savior of the Republic. Now we reach the final clash, Actium, on September 2nd, 31 BC, a decisive naval battle. Octavian wins, and from there it's only a matter of time. Cleopatra and Antony return to Egypt and resist as long as they can, but in 30 BC Octavian enters Alexandria. Antony takes his own life. Cleopatra, to avoid being taken to Rome as a war trophy, dies shortly after. Popular tradition says, the bite of an asp. But ancient sources aren't unanimous, and some accounts describe poison or other methods. Modern scholars often treat the asp as a possibly theatrical version, not a certainty. E ora, smontiamo I midi più famosi. Myth number 1, Cleopatra was only beauty. Plutarch, one of the main sources for her life, says something different. Her beauty was not incomparable at first sight, but her charm came from her presence, her conversation, intelligence, and the way she spoke. In other words, what made her powerful wasn't aesthetics. It was personality, meaning the political ability to win people and alliances. Myth number 2, Cleopatra was almost unreal, basically invented. In reality, we have material evidence, coins with her portrait. And those coins are fascinating because they show a Cleopatra who is more regal than a romantic, strong features, dynastic style, an image of authority. Institutions like the Art Institute of Chicago highlight the value of coin portraits in revealing how rulers chose to be represented. Myth number 3, Cleopatra was 100% Egyptian. Politically, she presented herself as pharaoh and linked herself to Isis, but her family was Ptolemaic Greek Macedonian in origin. That said, Cleopatra seems to have been, according to Plutarch and many modern discussions, the first of her dynasty to truly learn the Egyptian language, making her far more capable of speaking to the people and the local priesthood than her predecessors. And this connects to the most debated, modern topic, her race through today's categories. Many historians point out that applying modern racial frameworks to the ancient world is often anachronistic. In the ancient Mediterranean, what mattered was language, culture, citizenship, status, dynasty. The truth is, some family lines, her mother and her paternal grandmother, remain uncertain. But the modern obsession with boxing her in says more about the present than about Cleopatra. So what's the truth behind the myth? That Cleopatra was one of the sharpest political minds of her time, trapped in a world where Rome had become too big to leave space for an independent kingdom. She tried what smaller states always try when surrounded by superpowers: alliances, diplomacy, symbols, propaganda, economic control. The problem is, the superpower almost always wins. After her death, Egypt becomes a Roman province, end of the Ptolemaic kingdom, end of the last great independent Hellenistic state. And today? The myth continues, but research continues too. In recent years, there's been renewed focus on Cleopatra's tomb. Some expeditions, including those linked to the area of Taposiris Magna, have found coins and structures that reignite the hypothesis. But many scholars remain skeptical and emphasize that there is still no direct, definitive proof. It's one of those archaeological mysteries that, if it's ever solved, could instantly change the popular image of the queen.